Hello and welcome back. It's Female Bacon here, and I just want to give you my final thoughts and kind of just a quick recap on my experience with the Soul Reaver 1 and 2 remasters. So, had a great time playing them, and I'll be honest, like I kind of walked away from it, a little bit emotionally mixed in different ways and stuff. And you can watch the playthrough and decide for yourself if it's something that you want to experience. But ultimately, when I ask myself, was I happy to play through it again? Am I glad that I experienced what this game is all about again? The answer is ultimately yes. I'm very happy with the experience that I had here, and it was really nice to revisit these these classic remasters. So first off, big kudos to the developers. I think that this is a true blue OG remaster for like the original fans of the game. I got to imagine this was an unbelievably hard line to walk because they were probably having a lot of conversations about, well, the camera doesn't feel so good. The combat's a little bit rough by today's standards. Maybe some of the quality of life features are not really available. Like all the things that you'd expect in modern gaming is not here. This is very much a product of its time. And I think, in my opinion, and based upon the community's opinion, you look at Steam reviews, you see what people are saying about it online. It seems to me that community sentiment is very positive towards what they were able to put out here. This is, I think, the most important thing with a remaster is ask yourself, is this the definitive way to experience these games today? And the answer is yes. There is no better option. If you want to go back and you want to experience these games and you want to experience the authentic, genuine experience that they were, this is going to absolutely deliver that for you in every single way. So yeah, I think they straddled the line just enough here. And I'm sure like it's really hard to say because I'd have to go back and play the original Soul Reaver 1 and 2 to like really see what they changed. So it's been 20 years, since I played these games. So do I remember every single improvement and advancement they've made with these games? Absolutely not. Right. So I'm sure did a ton of work here. There's probably like 100 things that I didn't even notice that are like way better in this. But that I think that would be the biggest point here is like I had no problems with these games. They're smooth. They run well. I think the visuals for the most part are fantastic. I think Soul Reaver 1, massive improvement from the original visuals. I saw some people making some complaints online about like, oh, I like the bosses a little bit better in Soul Reaver 1. No, sorry, you're wrong. Soul Reaver 1 in particular, massive visual upgrade. Really enjoyed that. I can see now why people think Soul Reaver 1 is like the superior game to Soul Reaver 2, coming back into it in this format and seeing all the other games that it's influenced throughout the years. And there's just nothing else like it. Soul Reaver 2, little bit different experience there. Still really good game, but I think Soul Reaver 1 is the more unique game out of the two. There's a lot of, I'm not going to get into that. There's a lot of videos about that. If you're interested in which game's better, look, there's people who are going to give you way better breakdowns. I just want to talk about, what with the quality of the remaster here more than anything. So yeah, basically better visuals. I'm sure it's better game stabilization, smoother controls. The only thing I ran into was in Soul Reaver 2 in the first area, the Seraphan Fortress or whatever it is. If you watch the playthrough, I got soft locked. So, and I don't know if that's an issue with the OG game. If that's something that happens, is that an issue with the remaster? I have no idea, but I did get soft locked in the very first courtyard where you go, you kind of go through a few different hallways and then you end up in the first courtyard and you fight 3 Seraphan troops and then boom, I got soft locked. I had to look it up. I'm like, what's going on here? I don't know what to do. I'm confused. I looked up a walkthrough. Sure enough, I got stuck. Okay. That's the other thing too. If you're looking at this and you're like, man, I think I want to play this. Look, these games are, again, they're a product of its time. They play like older games. I got stuck at a few points. Okay. So you might have to, and that's like, I blame myself 100%. Like it was me not paying attention, not being observant enough. These games, once you play through them, not hard. Everything's really actually pretty easy to figure out. But it is actually really easy to get lost and to get stuck, especially in Soul Reaver 1. So I just give you a heads up on that. If you're thinking about engaging with this, there might be a couple bottlenecks where you're like, I don't really know where to go, what to do. And don't be afraid to look up a walkthrough. It'll probably make your experience better. Maybe not. Maybe you just want to get lost in the world and find your way, because there's a lot of optional areas of stuff that you can find in the first game that make it a lot of fun. So the other thing I want to bring up here, if you don't know anything about this series, okay, and you're like, should I play this? Shouldn't I? Like, I don't know if I'm into vampires. I think that's like a really big hang up for people, is the vampire thing, because a lot of people are like, oh, vampire, but Dracula, Twilight. No, this is not your traditional vampires, okay? Vampires, I don't know, somebody in the comments, correct me if I'm wrong here, but vampires are kind of like just their own race of beings. That's kind of my takeaway on it. I know humans can get revived as vampires, but then in Soul Reaver 2, they almost seem to be kind of their own complete race of beings. So it's not clear to me that every single vampire that exists was once a human. I'm not 100% clear on that. They almost seem like a greater than or divine being or something like that. So yeah, clear me up on the comments about that. But it goes into such wild territory. If you're going to play these games for any reason, I would say the number one reason is historical, to go back and look at this experience as a historical perspective, and you'll pick up on a lot of different things of like, man, okay, this reminds me of this game or that game or whatever. So there's a lot of really interesting things here going on with these games as to why they're special. The tone, the atmosphere, the voice acting, the story, yada, yada, yada. There's nothing quite like these games out there. There's things I can think of that I'm like, it kind of reminds me of. But overall, like, still in the market, in the gaming market to this day, there is nothing like these games. Even if you go back and they're not perfect experiences, they have some rough edges. I think just experiencing it for what it is, I think it's, it's greater than the sum of its parts. That's the best way that I could describe it. So moving forward into the future, what would I like to see? What is the whole point of this? Like, I know fans have been asking for remasters, remakes, a new game in the series, yada, yada, yada. We've been asking for all these things for years, hoping for something. Finally, something has happened. So there's been a catalyst here. This is, I think we got to always view a remaster, especially after 20 years of inactivity, basically. We always got to view these events as a catalyst event. And this is why I bought the game. This is why I'm doing the playthrough. I want to be part of the community that shows and generates interest in these games. I want to be part of that. What do we want to see in the future? For me, I think there's a couple things. Number one that I want to see a Blood Omen 1 remake. I think a lot of people did not have the opportunity to play Blood Omen 1. I think Blood Omen 1 is a massively important, it's the beginning of the series. It's literally the OG Legacy of Kain game. It's what set this whole thing in motion here. So that's what I would love to see, just full on RPG open world. I shouldn't say open world, but larger world, and I feel like fans, like, my concern with doing a full on remake with Soul Reaver in particular is there's so many expectations there. I don't think they're ever going to be able to get that right exactly. Especially when it comes to the voice acting and stuff like that. So I think the much safer option here, do a full-on remake of Blood Omen 1, 100%. That is the right option. Give us remasters of Blood Omen 2 and Defiance, and do not remake them. Just remasters like what we got here. I think that would be totally fine. Get the same people who made this to remaster those games. That would be great. And then let's see where we're at, and maybe, we can talk about a game like that expands this series, this franchise, depending how well they do and everything. So that's where I'm at. Number one thing, Blood Omen 1 remake and remasters of the other two games in this series. Okay. So that's what I like to say. Generally, I would love nothing more than to see more of this series. I want them to be handled as lovingly and as caringly as caringly a word I don't even know, as these games were handled. And huge props out to the people who worked on this. I think that it's a testament to their passion for the series, and I'm really happy to have played through this again, even if it was an uneven experience at times. I still really loved it and had a great time, and no regrets at all. And if you're looking at this and you're watching gameplay and you're like, I think this is really interesting, just go play it. Just go play it. Now's the best time. These are the best versions you're ever probably going to get of these games. So just go play it now.